G'day, g'day, g'day. How are we going? It's been a minute since I've touched base with you all, so I'm here to talk about a lot of things. On today's episode, I've asked some questions on my Instagram, so I'm going to go over them. If you've been paying attention, if you've been following me, then you would know a little bit about flips, a little bit about doing stuff. I'm going to talk about some experiences and thoughts that I had whilst traveling recently. I want to talk about basketball in Australia and what I think is happening and my WNBL predictions, finals predictions. Some 3x3 news, what's going on there. And then I just want to touch base on getting comfortable and feeling socially comfortable in any circle. Look, I can't say it's every circle or any circle, but some tips and tricks that I've done to be my best, truest self and also be comfortable in circles. It's been an extreme few weeks, but get comfortable, get cozy, and let's yap. So first off, what I've been talking about on my Instagram. So question to the room, and I want to hear your answers. Everyone's talking about reading. I've been talking a lot about reading, but it kind of came to me. Do audiobooks count as reading? Does it count as, how does that work as an audiobook? So I know that we all can listen to podcasts when we're driving. We can listen to music when we're driving, but does an audiobook count as screen time? Does it count as hearing? We read because we want to, I guess, go away. So it's like you're still doing the same thing, but do audiobooks count as reading? And if so, what have you read? It doesn't count as reading. If so, what have you read? And do you have any recommendations for me? Because I'm learning that when I'm going through very stressful times, I can't really sit and focus enough to read. I don't know if this is like an ADHD thing or if I don't know if this is just like a attention thing, but I do still want to continue reading, and if I can kind of cheat it myself to do audiobooks, to do audiobooks, and yes, please. I also asked the question, and it was astounding to hear what people thought. If someone told you, hey, do a flip into that body of water, right? Question number 1, would you think back or front flip? Question number 2, do you think you'd be able to do it? And 3, would you be confident enough to be able to do it? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like a big body of water. So the worst case scenario is you land on your stomach or your back, and it's completely painful. But so what I think is I just automatically assume that we're talking about a front flip, and 72% of people on my Instagram agreed with me. So thank you, everyone. But what do you think? Front flip or back flip? Which is great. People I've been with in the past have assumed backflip, and I'm like, there's no way that you would assume someone's putting their back to the water and jumping backwards. I feel like automatically I'm thinking front flip because I'd want to see what I'm looking at, kind of gauge the distance, and jump, tuck and roll in the air. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. But if you have other theories, please send them in, because look, everyone agreed with me, and I was kind of nervous that people are going to say backflip, but 72%, can't deny the votes. Majority votes. And then also, I've been traveling recently. I recently cut my hair when I was on a holiday, which I've been meaning to do for a while, because it's like that awkward length, but whatever makes you feel most comfortable within yourself. For me, it's having short hair. And I still want to get the shag look. We were having this conversation with the team, and automatically in my brain I'm like, I asked the table, I said, hey, what haircut have you considered? You don't have to get, but what have you considered? The most extreme one that you've considered. And then we went around the table and I said, oh, well, I've considered this. And then people were like, yeah, but what would you think? And some people said short haircut, maybe some layers, maybe some colours. And then we would ask the room what everyone's opinion was. And for me, kept on coming back to shag. You should get a shag mullet. You look really good with a shag mullet. And then the end of the table, you know what you'd look really good at with that short fringe and like a shag mullet? I think that would look really, really good. You with the long hair, have you considered an opposite bowl cut where you have short on the top and really long at the back? I don't know. It just all ended up coming into a mullet. So anyway, recently when I was on my trips, because we have this break, so in Europe you have 2 FIBA break windows because there's so much competition happening in Europe that all of the national teams play against each other to play in this overarching tournament called Eurobasket, where they have qualifying windows and people get put into groups and they play against their groups 2 times every year. So they play against each other in February and then in November, and then like that's during the season, and then they also play during the off season. So everyone's just qualified or not qualified, and then they're playing in another tournament in the, I want to say it's like the June time. I can't be sure of it, but if you know, please correct me. Anyway, so it's really cool. So everyone is constantly playing all year round and like constantly touching base with their team, which is so cool to learn as an Australian. But the good thing of that is that if we don't have anything going on for our national team, Australians, we get 2 breaks during the year. So I had one in November where I went back to Perth, and I had one just now in February. And it was so cool, like just kind of being let loose and having a week off, and I had to come back and train for 2 days. But having a week off in Europe is insane. I don't know how everyone else would go, but for me, it's like when you have too many choices, I need less options, please. So like mentally I had to try and find a way. So I went to the beach. I went down to the Canary Islands, which was really, really cool, very privileged, very lucky life that I live to be able to say that I'm able to do this. And then I went to Rome for like 2 weeks. Went to Rome for like 2 days. And Rome is so, so cool. And it made me think. And I had some like epiphanies when I was there, because Rome is, I think, and I'm going to butcher this, but I'm pretty sure it's like a capital city built on religion. And I mean, a lot is happening in the world, and I don't want to really talk about that too much, because everyone's got their opinions and everyone's entitled to their opinions, as long as it doesn't impact my rights, or it doesn't hurt people that I love or hurt myself. So everyone's allowed, whatever. And that's okay. I think that's the best way to go about it, to be honest. But one, being fortunate and privileged enough to see the world and go to such old historical places in Europe, which have been around for a crazy period of time. So I went to the Colosseum. The Colosseum was built in 200 BC. I can't comprehend how old that is. 200 BC. And I'm not sure if it's BC or AD, but I'm going to assume that it's BC. But whatever, which one is the oldest, it's the oldest, right? And Australia's only been around for 200 years. 200 years. I mean, obviously Australia has been around for much longer, and our Indigenous population has been around and it's the oldest living civilization in the world. But when we were building the Colosseum, people building the Colosseum, like Indigenous Australians were alive, and they're still alive today, and we're able to know them and learn from them and grow with them, and hopefully foster an environment which we can all live side by side. But it's incredible to comprehend how old these places are. And Australia being so young and coming from an Australian background, where I know that my country doesn't have places that look like European civilizations and like European buildings where we can go to, and like it's acknowledged the historical elements that happened there. I think what's really cool is that we're able to go, and people save up so much money to go and travel and see these historical sites where it's written down, hey, this really good stuff happened, but then also this really bad stuff happened also. And I think what's cool is like horrible things have happened in most other countries in the world, and they know about them because they talk about them, like the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, the Berlin Wall. I'm just going to say the Colosseum because bad stuff happened there too. And if you are able and fortunate enough to go traveling, I like to travel and I like to learn, and not everyone does that, and that's okay. But I love to learn about this because it's just so crazy that there is literally across the world, and also because of the internet, there is an open book, and people are saying this a lot, everyone's failing an open book test, but there is an open book as to how to move forward to avoid like a civil war or internal conflict. And conflict happens, whatever, within a country. But for me, what I'm seeing, and I'll get to how this relates to my life and how this relates to just loving people and being loved in return, but I've been privileged and fortunate enough to be able to go and see history and learn about history and learn about conflict that has happened in certain places. But it's all, at the end of the day, it's because people, it's people at the end of the day. People making bad decisions, people hurting other people not embracing other people, hurting other people, the divisiveness that has happened in the past. And then I see what's happening in Australia with, like, especially most recently, the January 26th rallies. And it's so painful to see that as a young culture, as a young civilization, young white Australia, we could do and we could change so quickly our future by just embracing one another and just loving one another. And this is the hill that I'll die on, is that to move forward together, we have to embrace one another and try and meet each other in the middle. And so there's little as I can do with this podcast is to try and spread acceptance and spread equality and spread, like, loving one another and not hurting each other. I feel like I need to just say that I've just been traveling, and like, and everyone has this bug, like, oh, she goes on a trip and or she goes on a trip one time and doesn't stop talking about it. But, like, guys, everyone else, every other country out there that is so much older than us has been here before and has done this, and they've had conflict that's lasted so much longer than us, and we can see and learn from this, and we can choose a different path. We're privileged enough to be surrounded by countries and lean on other countries and all of our allies and stuff that have done this. People are doing it right now, and we can choose to just be better and be different. And this, like, what I saw and what I've heard about that happened in Australia on the 26th is like, guys, do you really think that the answer is to exclude people? Do we really think the answer is to divide people? It doesn't work. It's never worked. In movies, it's never the answer. It's never the solution. It never... Welcoming people, equality, embracing one another is always a solution, because everyone just wants to be loved at the end of the day. And again, that's the hill I'll die on. Like, divisiveness doesn't work. Embracing each other, loving each other, and as small... I just think that that's a solution. And forgive me if I sound like I'm a preacher, but if the least that I can do is tell everyone, hey, go love each other. When people are awkward and weird and just want to, like, talk about something that they're really excited about, just let them. Anyway, that was a really long tangent that I just went on about, like, traveling and seeing, like, the world, which I think is really cool. But what it really did for me was, like, it was hard to comprehend how old these countries are and how old these places are and how young my generation in Australia is, and how young my family and my heritage is in Australia. And just been like, oh my God, hey, everyone's done this. We can choose to be different if we want to. We don't have to, but, like, it would be pretty cool to choose differently than other countries have, and it hasn't worked before. So it's not going to suddenly turn out any differently in Australia. Like, and we have such a cool little thing down there. We have such a cool little island, and we have such a cool little country, and we've got such cool people, and we have such a different culture, and we have such diversity. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. And even in the sporting world, it's so beautiful. Like, we should just embrace everyone and try to make it just a safe harbour for everyone. Anyway, spread love, spread positivity, spread acceptance, please and thank you. And if you don't like it, then that's okay. I want to move on to basketball, because that was just a long tangent that I had, but I don't know. If you guys have travelled, if you've not travelled, if you also share in this, please tell me your thoughts on it, because I think that Australia can do some really good stuff to move forward and embrace one another. And the people that I, like, even with treaty, like, yeah, we can just embrace one another and, like, work alongside each other to grow. Like, if we're all growing together, then, like, that's good, right? Anyway, basketball in Australia. So the WNBL Finals are coming up, and I'm going to make some predictions. So I think it's Bendigo versus Sydney and Townsville versus Perth. I think Bendigo are probably going to be in the finals. Obviously, Sammy Whitcomb's going to get the MVP. And I think that it's going to be... I would be surprised if Bendigo don't win the championship. When I've recorded this, Perth have just lost their first game to Townsville. And personally, I see it being a Townsville-Bendigo matchup. Like, in my heart of hearts, I think that's going to happen. I would love to be surprised, and I would love for the Lynx to prove me wrong. But I don't know. I just see it. And you can tell it's been like a long season as well. And I love them, and I love all the girls on the Lynx team. But it just looks like they're a bit tired. Like they get stuck behind, and they just struggle to fight back. Again, I would love to be proven differently, but it has been a long season of them getting a bit behind and then like battling back. And it's just it would also be a long stretch of finals for them if they did continue to do that. Like, they've got to now battle back and win this game on Wednesday against Townsville. And then they've got to then come back to Perth and then try and beat them in Perth. I think that Townsville are good. Shannon's such a great coach. It's such a well-structured team, and he's just really... I think Townsville are hitting their stride now, which is really good. I do have issues with the WNBL sending Townsville... I think Townsville played down in Melbourne, and sending Perth all the way up to Townsville the week before finals. Like, I think that's a bit dodgy. I think if you were going to do it, you should send all the teams to Melbourne, knowing that the WNBL awards are in Melbourne, and I think that you should try and limit as much travelling as possible. So I think that's like a poor foresight for the WNBL. But everything's different next year because we're getting taken over by the NBL. But let me know your thoughts, who you think is going to be in the finals, and then also who you think is going to win. And then I think that if it's a Bendigo Townsville... Like, I just assume that come finals time, like, Nia Coffey might be the WNBL Finals MVP, or Sammy Whitcomb, or maybe, depending on who shows up, like, who makes it there. I'm just going to make a very, very, very early prediction. Nia Coffey MVP Finals. Nia Coffey, Sammy Whitcomb... I want to put Tolo in that conversation. I'm going to name 4, just to be safe. 2 from each team. Sammy Whitcomb, Nia Coffey, Tolo, obviously, or Griffin, and Alicia Froling. Let me know your finals prediction, and let me know who you think is going to get MVP of the finals. It's obviously going to be Sammy, right? Sammy or Coffey, I think. Anyway, moving forward. So 3x3. A lot has happened this week in 3x3. They've announced that there's going to be a Champions Cup in Bangkok, Thailand. And I'm actually so excited. Like, next year, I really want us to make it as well so that we can compete there, because it's the best of the best tournament. And I don't think people are talking about this enough. So the Olympic qualifying tournaments, there was 3 of them for the Olympics. There was... small countries can go who don't have a 5-on-5 team that qualify for the Olympics. So that was the first one, and there was only one winner from that, and that was how Azerbaijan got to go. There was the second one, which we went to, which was our only chance, and it was the most difficult, not to blow my own horn, but it was the most difficult one because it had regional cup winners. So all teams compete to go to Asia Cup, and then the winner of the Asia Cup, our region, if the winner of that then qualified to get into this qualifying tournament. Then you've got like the Americups, the Afro Cup, and the Euro Cup. So all of those winners. And then, so for our qualifying tournament, it was all of those winners. So we had Canada, Brazil, because America already qualified. We had Netherlands, and we had us. And then we had the hosts, same thing as the thing. And then we had 3 spots for the highest points, so filled by the best of the world. And that was the most difficult because you had to win. So not only did we not play much 3x3 against European teams, we also were going against these teams who every single one of those top-ranked countries play in the women's series tournaments year-round. So they go to most of the women's series tournaments. And then, like the Netherlands, for example, who'd won Euro Cup, they train 3x3 year-round. So not only, and they have like a squad, and they train together and they play together, and that chemistry is like incredibly difficult to compete against. As you saw, we lost our first one and then we didn't have to play them again. Anyway, so what they've done with the Champions Cup, so that was us, and the winner of that qualifying tournament went through, and then the third one, it was everybody else, so the top 25 or the top 15 teams based on ranking points went to the last qualifying tournament, and the top 3 went through. So that one's kind of easy because you got more chances, right? And it's top 3, you don't have to win. So this Champions Cup in Thailand for 3x3 is going to be huge because it's the winners of the Olympics, so Germany. It's the winners of all of the regional cups, Asia, Euro, Africa, America. And so for Germany, the hosts, Thailand, and then the last 2 is the next top 2 based on ranking points. I don't know why people... ranking points are so important in 3x3 because it gives you more opportunity to play and to get 2 places, and then eventually for the Olympics and for the World Cup, it's all based on ranking points. Anyway, so the Champions Cup is the best of the best, are all going to be in Thailand, and they're all going to compete against each other to see who is the best, and the winner gets 5 free guest passes or guest teams to women's series tournaments, which is impossible to get, and because women's series is all over Europe, it's all over America, it's all over North America, South America, and in China's and the Asian region. So it's all over the world. So 5 spots you get automatic spots into. And then you also get sent to next year's Champions Cup, which frankly, I want to be at. I need to be at. So Australia, we better go and we better play and we better freaking win, please. And there's a lot happening in 3x3 this year. They've also announced the Asia Cup, and there's just so much attention on 3x3, and I'm hoping that hits the Australian shores. Hoping. If you're listening in Australia, I want you to tell me, would you watch 3x3 if it came to our shores? Would you play 3x3 if it came to our shores? And do you know that there's a pathway? Because I would love... Something's happening, and I don't want to drop too much of it, but I want there to be a 3x3 hub in Australia, and I want to bring 3x3 to Australia. Because we're doing a lot, but I think that we could be doing just a little bit more, and I would love to be involved in that. So if you're interested in playing 3x3, if you're interested in a pathway, and if you'd watch an international tournament come to Australia, just hit a like, or, that's my neck, don't mind me, hit a like, or don't hit a like, and comment, or message me if you'd watch, if you'd play, and if you'd like it, because I think there's a lot that we could be doing more of in Australia. And that's all I'm going to say on that, because there's some stuff in the works that I hope pulls off. Because at the moment there isn't really Australian pathways, and there isn't really a very clear path as to how to play, but I will finish with this. Ranking points matter. If you're interested in playing, there is actually stuff happening in Australia. If you're interested in playing 3x3 in Australia, there is the 3x3 Hustle through the NBL, and there is also the CLB, the Champions League Basketball 3x3 Basketball League, that is also happening in Australia in different states and cities. And if you're interested, I would push you to look them up at CLB 3x3 and at 3x3 Hustle. So they're currently happening in Australia. And I want to finish today's conversation and today's session, because we've been going for a little bit, but I was having a conversation with the girls today, and I was talking about how, like, being an athlete is really cool, but I think end of sentence, being an athlete is really cool, but being comfortable in any room, or being comfortable in any social circle, and being able to talk to different people from different ways of life, and like I've had some bad experiences. Oh my gosh, and animal facts. Does anybody else get caught up just talking about, like, dropping just random animal facts? facts. Does anyone else get caught up just dropping random animal facts or random facts? Because that's me. 2 thumbs, 1 finger, pointing at you, and then looking back at me. Because that's like, I think it's the ADD in me or the ADHD in me, because I just get so, hey, fun fact. Hey, did you guys, fun fact about dolphins. Don't even get me started on dolphins. But does anyone else get like that? Because I'm the master at that, because I have so many fun facts. I can't think of one single one right now. But there was an interesting thing that I saw the other day that was like, you know, cats, like domestic cats, we talked about this morning, and I want to hear everyone's theories on them if you've got them. But cats, domestic cats have slits in their eyes, but they're supposed to have evolved from big cats and been domesticated. But then you look at big cats, and big cats don't have slits in their eyes, they've got big eyes. So we started talking about that today and talking about theories, and it's like, oh, but you see that they're only like reptiles have those sort of like slits in their eyes. So if you hadn't thought about that before, that's a thought process to have. How did that get like that? So that was like a fun fact that we talked about. But talking to any type of people in the room, fun fact, I think that asking questions, genuine questions, is the way to go through that. Because, like, no offense, but the attention's off me. So when I'm meeting people for the first time, I love to learn about them. And then also that kind of takes attention off me that I can't think about. So, like, today, I think we were talking about, like, obviously animal fun facts. And then we established that one of the girls loves to get stung by jellyfish every time she gets in the water. If you're listening, you know. And as an Australian, I've never actually been stung by a jellyfish. Thank Christ. And I also think that weirdly I would be okay if I saw a shark coming at me, because and I say that, but I've never been in that experience. And when I am in the water, I'm petrified, especially if I'm on a surfboard. But I reckon if you're supposed to punch them in the nose or poke them in the eyes, happening so fast, obviously you can punch, like obviously there's enough time. Obviously not. Or if they're coming towards you, you're supposed to guide them away. Apparently you're supposed to be. And I reckon I'm confident. I also reckon that if I saw a bear and it was coming like towards me, I'd be able to like convince it that I'm not like everybody else. I'm different. We're best friends, honey. Pooh Bear, don't attack me. It's okay. You can attack everybody else, but we're different. We've got this bond. But then anyway, I think that when you're in a social circle with people that you're meeting for the first time, it's like I find that the best way to get through that is to ask questions and to like genuinely want to know about them. And then like one of the girls was talking about her mum's a nurse and like has to take care of people, and it's obviously very tough to be a nurse. There's only a certain type of people who can be nurses and go into that field because of the level of care that you have to have for people. And then, I mean, you can start talking about that, and then you can just kind of grow and ask more questions. Because at the end of the day, like, conversation, just, like, ask and answer, share and be heard, and then listen, and then give, I don't know if I would say opinion, but, like, give your thoughts. So, today, we're in a good space. This week, we're in a good space. And we've yapped. And we've gone on a roller coaster together, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you've been sharing and listening with that. If you've enjoyed this episode, I mean, like, follow, subscribe, share. And I don't really know how it works, and I'm working to be better at it. But so far, if you listened to today's episode, thank you so much. Please let me know, front flip or back flip. What do you reckon? If I said do a flip into the body of water, what would you say? What would you assume? The audiobooks count as reading? Yes or no, please, because I need to know. I need to figure out a different way to, like, get new stories, because I can't just sit in front of I've got to do something, you know? Got to keep reading somehow. 3x3, if you're interested, like and comment or message me if you'd watch or if you'd come to a tournament, because I think that we can have so much more basketball happening in Australia. What is your WNBL Finals predictions? And last but not least, fun fact about the Cats. What do you reckon? You in or out? Because it's weird if you think about it, like big cats with big eyes. Anyway, that's just my thoughts today. Thank you so much for joining today. It's been a great episode, a wild episode, roller coaster of an episode, that's for sure, especially about traveling, seeing the world. And also, I'm convinced that giants exist. We'll talk about that on another session. But hey, thank you so much. Until our next episode, until our next session, love yourself, love yours, and love your friends. Embrace each other. Love you guys. Thank you so much.